Hey everyone, and welcome to A Tale of Two Wastelands modding guide for 3.2, Episode 2, User Interface. Hey everyone, welcome back to the guide. Thanks for sticking with me. I know I've been way off on what I was wanting to do for the schedule for this guide. And due to some hardware issues I actually had a couple of episodes recorded and almost finished editing, and I lost all the video and footage, so I've had to go back and set everything up. I know even with that inconvenience I should have had some more episodes out, but we're going to try to get back on schedule here. So the first thing I want to do for this episode is address some of the comments that I got on my first video, and a couple of things that I received comments on we're going to talk about. The first is about some of the mods that we downloaded last time. I actually downloaded a redundant mod for the mods that I chose. And secondly, some people have suggested waiting for A Tale of Two Wastelands 3.3 because it's supposed to come out this year. And while I do agree that that's a very strong possibility, I've decided I'm just going to go ahead and do this version of the guide, because even if 3.3 comes out this year, I have to wait for mods to be converted, and it's just going to be a long time before everything's ready. So at that time, I'll probably just update the guide or do a different guide again. This is going to be the main focus of my channel, so all that does is just give me more content. And then the last thing I wanted to address from the comments is this comment here. Somebody says at 406 you don't have a data folder in your TTW install folder, and when you install the update at 517 there's a data folder. I have to do a lot of cutting here and there just to make sure I get the words that I want to say correct. And what happened here was, when we were installing TTW into that folder in our desktop, I cut and then started back up, and I forgot to add the part of the video where I added a data folder to that desktop folder. And that's purely for my OCD. As long as you have it pointing to the correct files in Mod Organizer, it doesn't matter how you did that. I just do that, like I said, for OCD, and as long as when you were in Mod Organizer installing it, you had that same screen, you should be okay. So if we start off where we ended last time in Mod Organizer, you will remember that the last mod we installed was Smooth True Iron Sights Camera. That is another mod by Stewie. So what I didn't know at the time of recording is that he has integrated his Smooth True Iron Sights camera into his Stewie's tweaks. So we can just go ahead and disable and remove the Smooth True Iron Sights camera, and that will still be taking effect in your game due to it being integrated into his main mod. And then just another little bit of tidbit of information. If you hit the little tool icon up here, you can see these options, and there's this check for updates button. So what we're going to do is run that. You can periodically do this, and most of the time it's going to be safe, at least for the beginning here, to update these mods. So you'll see we have 3 mods that need updated, and you can right click and hit visit on Nexus, and I'm just going to go ahead and do that for all 3 of these. And then you can go over to the file sections on those and download them with Manager. And then go back to Mod Organizer, Manual, and then you'll get this pop-up that's showing you that it already has a mod by this name. And what you're going to do is just go ahead and hit Replace, since these are newer versions of the same mod. And then you will see here that in the top left, as I'm updating these mods, they're disappearing because right now it's sorted to just show the mods that need an update. So we'll go ahead and do the last one, Stewie's Tweaks. And if you remember from the last video when we installed Stewie Tweaks, we had two separate downloads from that mod, and we had to name them two separate things. That way, the purpose of that is so that when you tweak his any file, you don't have to do it every time. So you'll just want to make sure on this that you are selecting the correct name. So as you can see in the top left, this is the mod we need to update, so I want to make sure that I have that same name so that when I go to override it, that it replaces the correct one and that it does not replace the any tweaks for that mod. And go ahead and hide these installed mods. And now we should be pretty much caught up on the ending of episode 1, getting back on track. So from now I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into the mods that we're going to be covering in this video for the user interface mods. Alright guys, so hopping right into the user interface mods that we're going to be using. There's actually a recommended mods page on the forums for Tale of Two Wastelands. And as you can see right here, there is a user interface and quality of life mods section. And we're going to be lumping these pretty much, I'm not choosing to use all of these, but most of these mods we're going to be using. So we can hop right into it. We're going to be starting with user interface organizer. And just for the sake of time, I'm not really going to go into what all of these mods do exactly, because some of these are pretty intricate. If you want to know more about specifically what the mods do, first of all, I recommend reading everything here. And a second really good resource is actually, as a video right here, is Gopher Gaming on YouTube. He has so many videos about all these mods already that go more into depth than I'm going to. But for the purposes of this guide, I'm just going to be, I don't want to say speeding through this, but pretty much just going to these pages and downloading the mod and installing it and walking you guys through that process. So first mod, as I said, user interface organizer. Gonna grab that, download with manager. Then the second mod we're going to be talking about is the Vanilla UI Plus. Now there's two big user interface overhauls that people use in New Vegas. One is Darnified UI and the other is Vanilla UI Plus. I am choosing to use Vanilla UI Plus just for preference. If you want to use Darnified, I would suggest going over to Gopher's 2020 New Vegas modding guide. He goes over how to install Darnified there, and I even believe that he uses the updated one from the Tale of Two Wastelands site. So if you're more interested in Darnified, go watch that video and you can figure out how to install it from there. But if you want to use Vanilla UI Plus, you can keep following along here. And what we're going to do is go over to the downloads page on ModDB, and obviously I'll leave links to all these. And I'm going to grab the Vanilla UI Plus New Vegas 8.5.6 version. And then we're going to hit this download now button. And I'm just going to drag this on out to my desktop. Go into Mod Organizer and create a new mod and just double click on that. And you're going to get a little installer here. Now these options, you can read what they do, but I'll just show you guys my selections. I'm going to stick with the default font tweaks. I'm selecting a plugin, and I believe, yeah, so I'm going to use the WASD compatible. You can read through this here if you want to see what it does, and install. And then I'm going to activate it, and that is now installed. Before we move on to the other mods, I'm going to hop into game here and just show you guys what we're working with just these two mods. Alright, so here we are in game. You can see things look a little different here. If you click on settings, you should be able to see the versions of NVSE, JIP, and the mod we just installed, Vanilla UI Plus, that we're using. And if you we'll hop into game real quick here. and give you guys a look at the Pip-Boy. So you can see it just looks a lot cleaner. There's more on the screen than there is in vanilla. And overall, it feels more modern, but at the same time it feels the same stylistically as the original game. And I do want this guide to be sort of a vanilla plus experience. As compared to my last guide, we had a ton of mods, and when you have that many mods on a game like this, things just get really unstable, and I'm trying to avoid that this time around. So yeah, just a brief explanation of why I'm choosing this user interface mod, just to match, I guess, kind of what I want to have the overall theme of the guide be. But yeah, we'll hop back into the mods now. Alright guys, so we're back at the mods, and I just realized that I had my tabs sorted incorrectly. That doesn't really matter. We have user interface organizer downloaded already. The next mod we're going to be downloading is the mod configuration menu. So you'll grab that main file with manager. The next mod is the weapon mod menu, and this one is a manual download, so you'll have to download that and save it to your desktop. JIP improved recipe menu, grab with manager. Enhanced item info, grab that with manager. Field of view slider, again with manager. Casino exchange all, this is more of a quality of life mod, but I'm just going to lump it in with these user interface mods. And you can grab you don't need the faux mod version, you can just do the casino exchange all 15. Loot menu, this mod is pretty cool. It adds a similar user interface loot. For the looting is Fallout 4. Grab that with manager. And then these last two mods here, delay DLC TTW. This stops the messages at the beginning of the game from popping up telling you that you have the DLCs installed. And then tutorial killer, it gets rid of the tutorial messages that appear when you start. Grab that with manager as well. Alright, I will see you guys back over in Mod Organizer. Alright, so we are back in Mod Organizer, and we're going to begin installing our mods. Again, I know that I'm just breezing through this and just telling you guys to download these mods with Mod Manager. And I understand that might be confusing, but I'm really encouraging you guys to do the research yourself for what these mods do, so you can decide whether you want them or not. But these are just the mods that I consider essential. And if you guys would like more detailed explanations of the mods in the future, please just let me know in the comments. I can make the videos longer if needed. If that's something you guys think you would enjoy or prefer, please just let me know in the comments. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and start installing these. So we have user interface organizer, and I always just do all these manually and just make sure that it says the content of data looks valid. And mod configuration menu looks good. And then we had the manual download for the weapon mod menu. So I like to bring those out on my desktop and then go and install it. Looks good. And then we had the JIP improved recipe menu, manual, enhanced item info, looks good. FOV slider, looks good. Alright, and that's all of those installed. I'm going to go ahead and hide these on this panel, and now simply enable all of those. And we can take a look at some of these errors here. In Mod Organizer, you'll see these little lightning bolt icons and then a plus or minus sign. What that essentially means is if it's a minus sign, that means that there's another mod that you have lower than it that is taking priority of files that both of those mods have. So for example, if I look at loop menu, go into conflicts here, I can see that these two files here are being overwritten by Vanilla UI Plus. And since since loop menu is loaded lower, it is actually taking priority over the Vanilla UI Plus files. But for Vanilla UI Plus, it has all of these files here being overwritten by other mods. So I'm going to take a look at these conflicts off screen to make sure we have it sorted correctly. And if we need to make any sorting changes, I will be back shortly and we can talk about those. Okay guys, after doing a little bit of research, I have looked at the README for Vanilla UI Plus, and you can see here if there are any conflicts, allow VUI Plus to win them. So what that means is we need to load Vanilla UI Plus. We need to give it a higher priority for those files to overwrite files of other mods that contain the same files. So all we have to do that is just drag Vanilla UI Plus to the bottom. I'll just drag it to the bottom of all of these mods that we just did. Also, earlier, forgot to mention to create another separator. I'm just going to name mine user interface and then put it right below Stewie's. Okay, so now we're going to hop into game and see what all those changes look like. Alright guys, so here we are in game. As you can see here, this little thing on the left here is from the enhanced item info mod. I did forget to mention with that mod, that is a personal choice. It's not really something that I would consider essential. I just enjoy it because basically what it does is if you don't know it by heart, it helps with not having to look things up, like tab out of the game and look something up on the internet. So for example, you can see here things that can be used to repair these items. Same thing with apparel. Then if you go over to like aid, you can see recipes and such. If you don't like that, if it bugs you or anything along those lines, you can go into the new mod configuration menu and you can just hit always untick that, or you can just uninstall it from Mod Organizer, whichever you prefer. But then as you can see, we have some of our other mods that we downloaded here. World field of view, player field of view. I always like to up this up to about 75 personally, sometimes 80. And then loop menu, you can go through all these settings and adjust it to how you like it. And I can even make like a separate video for my own personal settings if that's something you guys would like to see. Hey guys, after I got done recording all the first parts for the video, I noticed that the font looked a little funny in the loop menu. So I did some research. I'm going to just show you guys two clips of me looting some stuff here. And in the first clip, you will see that it doesn't look terrible, but the squares around the text looks a little off. So I found a mod that actually patches that, and you can see here now in this second clip that it just looks a little bit cleaner. Not the biggest difference in the world, but for people with OCD like me, it helps. So the mod that patches the text for Vanilla UI and loop menu is loop menu and FPS weapon wheel Vanilla UI Plus patches. If you go over to the Files tab here, we're just going to need the loop menu Vanilla UI patch. Grab that with Manager. And install. And you can just leave this below Vanilla UI. It only overwrites files from loop menu. So as long as it's below loop menu, you're good. And then secondly, we're going to talk about something I forgot to mention earlier when we removed that smooth true iron sights mod. As you know, I mentioned that he had integrated that mod into his tweaks mod, but we actually need to enable that. So even though it's integrated, it's not enabled by default. So you're actually going to want to edit your any file here. So Stewie's tweaks any. You can just double click on that. Open up the NVSE folder in the plugins folder, and then you're going to right click on NVSE Stewie tweaks.ini and open. And then you can just control F and search for smooth. And it's the first one that comes up here. You'll see smooth the iron sights animation by blah blah blah. It's set to 0 by default. If you just change that to a 1 and save, you will now have those smooth true iron sights animations again. Alright guys, that's going to wrap it up for episode 2. We covered user interface and some small quality of life mods this episode. I know I've been short on the video schedule that I wanted to hit. I'm going to do my best to hopefully get back on track with that. So I just wanted to say thanks you guys for sticking with me and bearing with me through this. But yeah, the next episode, I think 99% sure it's going to be either just a solo video for New Vegas Reloaded, which is kind of like a ENB or it's more of a change to the graphics engine. And then depending on how long that is, I may throw in some texture mods, the texture mods I'm going to be using into that video. But if that ends up being too long, I'll separate those two into 2 separate videos. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope to have episode 3 up by the end of this weekend, so we'll see you guys there. Thanks for watching.